Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for joining us today. My name is Rashmata, and I am the event planner for Microsoft Reactor India. This session will run over the next 60 minutes, including Q&A. But before we begin, please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We are all here to learn together, so please be respectful of other people's views, understanding of differences, being kind and considerate in the way you engage. The chat section will be open throughout, and we do encourage you all to participate. So please feel free to drop all your questions in the chat section. I would now like to welcome Krunal, our speaker for today's session. Krunal has been serving the IT industry for 15 years now. He has delivered training sessions for various IT MNCs in India as well as abroad. Apart from the training session, he is also a part of the software product development where he is involved as lead architect consultant. But for now, I will hand over to Krunal to begin the session. Let me bring him into the stream. Here you go. Hey Krunal, how are you?
Hey, hello Rashmita. I'm good. What about you?
I'm doing good, all excited, bringing up your presentation up, and here you go.
Hey, hello everyone. Good evening, good morning. If you are from the other part of the world, I'm Krunal Trivedi. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer, MCT, as well as MCT India regional lead. I recently completed 15 years as an IT corporate trainer as well as consultant. I deliver training sessions to various IT MNCs, provide consultancies to various IT MNCs, speaks for various community events as well as user groups. Thank you so much for joining my session. Today we are going to talk about how to use Microsoft Copilot for Azure. As we all know, today we have Copilot everywhere. We have Copilot for M365, we have Copilot for GitHub, we have Copilot for Windows, we have Copilot for security, Copilot for Azure. So in today's session, we will see how to uh, take advantage of Copilot in the Azure environment. Yeah. So here you can see on my screen, you have my LinkedIn profile. You can connect to me in case of any doubt, any questions in the future related to any of the Microsoft Azure stack, as well as the Azure AI, Azure OpenAI, as well as the Copilot stack. So friends, first of all, say what is Copilot for Microsoft Azure? Say Microsoft Copilot in Azure is an AI powered tool to help you do more with Azure. Say as of now, it is in preview mode. It is not generally available. It is in the preview mode and is an orchestrator which takes the prompt from you, gets the data from Azure Resource Graph, MS Docs, Azure Resource Pane, and helps you to configure, to optimize, to guide you to configure your Azure environment. With Microsoft Copilot in Azure, you can gain new insights, discover more benefits of the cloud, and orchestrate across both cloud as well as an edge. Copilot leverage large language model LLMs. It takes data from the Azure control plane, insights about your Azure environment, and helps you to work more efficiently. It helps you to understand your Azure environment, to work smarter with your Azure services, as well as helps you to write and optimize your code. You can use Copilot to understand your Azure environment, such as to get information about the resources you have already provisioned in Azure, to understand services health, to understand and analyze or to estimate the cost of your environment. It also assists you to work smarter with Azure services. For example, to deploy VM more effectively, for building infrastructure and deploy workloads. It helps you to create resources with guided deployment and so on. You can use Copilot for Azure to write and optimize code. You can ask Copilot to generate a PowerShell script for you, to generate Azure CLI script, or you can ask Copilot to generate Kubernetes YAML files and authoring API management policies and so on. Using Copilot, you can discover new cloud functionality. You can ask Copilot questions using NLP to discover and utilize the full functionality of the Azure services. You can orchestrate seamlessly across resources, optimize processes, resources, workloads with AI orchestration analysis, and more. Copilot span all across various phases of Azure cloud, starting from designing, operations, optimizations, as well as troubleshooting. So you can streamline all of your Azure cloud aspects. You can use Copilot for Azure to configure the right services for your application and environment while aligning with organizational policies. It is extremely helpful to answer questions, author complex commands, and to act on your behalf using natural language. For example, I can ask Copilot, hey, can you change my theme from blue to black, black to blue? And it will do it. You can use Copilot for Microsoft Azure to optimize the workload configurations for the Azure environment. We can take help for Copilot for Azure to improve cost, scalability, reliability, security through the recommendations for our environment. One thing to keep in mind when we work with Copilot, it needs context. So you can ask Copilot, say, hey, I want you to secure my Azure storage account. And what it does, it will open the storage account list. It will open list of storage account. So you have to select which storage account you want to secure. Or you can ask your Copilot for Azure, say, I want my VM more reliable. What to do? And it will ask you which VM you want to make it more reliable. Or probably when you are deploying your VM, you can just start deployment when you are on the first screen, and then you can ask Copilot, say, hey, I'm deploying this virtual machine. Would you guide me how to make it more reliable, more robust? And it will suggest you should add availability zone or availability scale, and you can select, and again it will have multi-ton prompts for you. Lots of question answering would be there, but it gives you the overall solutions, what to do, how to optimize, or how to design or develop your resources, right? We can use Copilot for Azure to orchestrate data across various Azure services, and we can use it for summarization. It can summarize issues for you, identify causes, it will suggest solutions. For example, you can ask Copilot, hey, any of my workload is affected by any of the outage as of now, and it will give you yes or no. If yes, what to do. So lots of suggestions, summarizations you will get here. If we talk about the design phase, so you can ask a Copilot, like, hey, how to attach a disk to the VM using the CLI. It will provide KQL for you. Ultimately, you get Azure Resource Graph query, and then you have to execute that query, and you will get the desired task done. You can ask it, how can I make my VM more reliable, resilient? How can I secure my storage services? So it gives you various outputs, list of services, list of options that you can again select in turn. It gives you Azure Resource Graph queries. So ultimately, internally, it uses Azure Resource Graph, it uses Microsoft Docs, it uses Azure Resource Plane, and it uses, you can say, it has some skills also that is going to apply to give you response. You can ask Copilot for various operational questions like, can you help me with submitting a support case, or can you generate a script to delete all VMs having the specific tag, or show me all unused public IPs. So this is what these AI assistants will answer your questions and help you out here. We can also use Copilot to improve cost, scalability, and security. You can ask it like, show me the ways to optimize Azure functions, or how can I save money during production VM1 every day for 2 years, or give me any code of performance optimization. You can ask it like, can you just generate a report for me having VMs publicly accessible, and it creates the report for you. It even gives you the resource graph queries that you can keep with you, and every time you need, you can execute that query. it summarize issue for you is like you can ask it like, can you just tell me the resources which I have or my team has configured in last 1 week or in last 24 hours, or am I impacted by the service health events? Is there any outage impacting me or my workloads here? Is the alert with particular ID is still active or not? So it helps you to summarize issues, troubleshooting it, and lot of stuff over there. Now, before we go ahead and understand mm, how it works practically, just keep in mind two things, friends. So, first of all, as of now, it is not generally available, it is under preview. So, you do not have cost associated with it, but you can have 5 sessions per day, and for each and every session you can have up to 15 prompts. I mean, you can ask up to 15 questions, right? So limit is the 15 questions and 5 sessions per day right now because it is in the general availability. Second thing is what, as it is not in general availability. Second thing is what, uh, to get it, to activate it, you need to fill in the form, right? By default it is not part of your Azure environment. You need your organizational account. You will not get the access over the private account. First of all, you need organizational account. I mean, you will not get access on work or school account. And for the organizational account, it's based on tenants. First of all, it's not based on the subscription, and you need to fill in the details and they will scrutinize the details and then they will enable Copilot for you. As a result, you will get a Copilot button in your Azure portal. So yeah, there is no cost as of now. It is in preview mode, and you need privilege, you need special access to have Copilot enable in your tenant. Those are the two things. Now the question is how Copilot works, right? That is very important thing to understand. So we all know that we have OpenAI, right? And what OpenAI has does, OpenAI takes lots of data. When it gets the data, lots of data, they spend money, they spend GPU power, they spend time, and they create some machine learning stuff. And as a result, we get uh, OpenAI models like GPT 3.5, GPT 4, DALI. So OpenAI has designed these models for us. The model is trained over huge amount of data. What Microsoft has a read-only copy of this model, and these copies are hosted on the Azure environment, on Microsoft environment, on Microsoft data center. So we have that read-only copy of that OpenAI models with us. But this copy has no data available of our specific Azure environment. For example, if I talk about GPT 3.5 or GPT 4, it has no information available about my organizational account. It is totally unaware of it. So when you ask a query to this Copilot, how it respond to you, that is what we have to understand. So this Copilot is an orchestrator, right? And understand that we are the user. We talk to Copilot in the form of a prompt. So we are going to talk to Copilot. We just shoot out a question. Now, when we shoot out the question, we have to provide two things to the Copilot. One is the context, and one is your instruction. What you want to do is like, how can I secure my virtual machine? And it says, okay, what virtual machine you want to secure, or what storage account you want to secure. So you need to provide a context. So one is context, one is your information. So this Copilot always works on a context. So you need a context over there. Copilot for Azure works on a context, right? So when I say Copilot here, I'm talking about Copilot for Azure. So when you work with this Copilot for Azure, you need to provide a prompt, you need to provide a context. Now, Copilot is an orchestrator. Now, what it does? It does data grounding. It tries to get information from Azure control plane. Now, what is Azure control plane? So this Azure Resource Manager, ARM, is the Azure control plane. It talks to Azure Resource Graph. It talks to Microsoft Docs. It has its own skills. some insights, you can say some cost management techniques. So all the skills it will add to that information what it has retrieved from Azure Resource Manager. So for example, in my case, when I ask I want to secure my storage account, so it will open all the storage account. Now that it opens all the storage account, list of storage account, that is what it gets the information from ARM template, right? Azure Resource Manager. Plus, to secure it or to do some task, it generates resource graph query. Plus, it knows it has a skill. It says, okay, now to secure this storage account, what I have to do, I have to enable encryption, I have to enable TLS security. So it has a skill to it, right? If you say I want to make my VM more resilient, so it will open the VM. So it takes the context. It takes your VM specific information from ARM, from Azure Resource Manager, and then it has its own skill. It's like, okay, so I have read it on the Microsoft Docs, say to secure to make your VM more resilient, you need minimum 2 copies. So you can put it in the availability set or availability zone. So it applies the skill. It asks you that you have 2 options available. You select these options. And when you select the options, again it applies its own skills over there. So it does data grounding ultimately. And now it has this information. So it has the information specific to your Azure environment plus skills, what it gets from Microsoft Docs, from Azure Resource Manager, for Azure Resource Graph. And now what it does, it goes to that Azure OpenAI model. And it says, okay, I have to understand in which language the user is asking a question, or what is the meaning behind the question, what is the intention behind the question. So to process that natural language, it talks through Azure OpenAI. To enhance the skill, to get the information about your Azure environment, it talks to ARM, it talks to Resource Graph, it talks to Microsoft Docs. And then it combines both of them and respond you back. So that is how this Azure Resource Graph work. That is how this Azure Resource Graph work. And the Copilot for Azure works. Now what we are going to do, let's do some demo here. And again, I'll show you one conceptual diagram that how it works. So let me open the Azure portal. I need to reshare it. So I'm going to share the another screen here now. So yeah, this is the screen and I'm here in this Azure portal. I need to log into the Azure portal. So you can see I'm here on my Azure portal, and on the top of it, we have this Copilot button is enabled. We have this Copilot button is enabled here. So this is what I get Copilot access for one of my tenant here. So when I click on the Copilot, I get this Copilot box, and it says, okay, you can use Copilot for all the 4 aspects of the Azure environment, for designing your workloads, for operation purposes, for optimization, for troubleshooting purposes, as we discussed. I can ask a question, say, hey, would you change the theme to black? Now the thing is what? Hey, would you change the theme? So to understand this thing, it's taking help of Azure OpenAI models. But theme of what? So theme of that Azure environment. It is having a context. Say I'm enabled in this particular environment. Second, to change the theme to black, that means it has understanding of Azure Resource Manager. Say in Azure portal, we have blue theme, we have black theme. So let us see when I click on send button here. So it says, okay, I'm working on it. It takes some time. And you can see it has changed my theme to black, right? It's like, yes, we are changing theme to dark and the dark mode is enabled. Okay. It's still determining what to do. So yeah, it's done. Now again here we have some few multi-turn prompts like change the theme to light, change the theme to blue, change the theme to the highest contrast light. I just say change the theme to blue, and just see it will change it to the blue. So this is what it is, an AI based orchestrator. It is here to assist you. Yeah, it's changed back to blue. Let us see a few more prompts here. So I have few prompts already designed for me. You can also see for this session, this is my one of the 15 requests. So you can have 5 sessions, and as of now 15 requests per session. I already made 2 requests here, right? I'm going to ask one more question. Say question is list all the storage accounts which are accessible from the internet. So now when I ask the question, let's see what it does. It's working on it, and we need to wait. So you can just trying to generate an Azure resource graph query, and the query is like list all storage accounts that are accessible from the internet. And you can see here I get the query here. It's like, it's querying your particular subscription. That is what the context using Azure resource graph. It has understanding of ARM also, and it generates the query for me. What I can do, I can click on this run button. It will open the query here in Azure resource graph Explorer. Let's just wait for a second and we'll do the same. Meanwhile, it's also querying the selected subscriptions using this query. So it gives me the query also, and then it executes the query, and here you can see I get my storage account name. It is like storage Copilot with Azure. This is a storage account that is accessible from the internet, right? And even if I click on the run button here, I get the same query, and here you can see I get my subscription ID, resource ID, resource name, type, tenant ID, storage account, kind, location. So look at this thing. It gives me query also that I can copy, I can keep with me, and it execute the query also. Again, here I have a few other prompts are given, like what other properties does this storage account have? How can I secure this storage account? So let me click on how can I secure this storage account. So just see what happens. See, it says, would you like to run a security check for the particular storage account? So I say yes, run it. It's determining what to do. It's running a security check for my storage account here. And one more thing to understand, this Copilot or Azure is not storing this organizational account information for you. And here I get some suggestions. It's like, you should enable the firewall. Storage account is not using private endpoint. Storage account allows anonymous blob access. It should not be there. The storage account allows shared key authorization. We have to change it. The data in the storage account is encrypted using this key. You can use customer managed key also. So you can see I get all these informations here, right? Let me fire one more query. Say list all my resource groups in the subscription. So I just fire one more query here. Say let me remove this number. So it will list down all the resource groups available in particular subscriptions. So what it does, first it will figure out the subscription, and then it will execute the query to get the resource group from the subscriptions. So that's what, again, just see, it's generating an Azure resource graph query for the intent. And the query is like, list all my resource groups and its subscriptions. It will generate the query, and then it will execute that query. Yeah, so this is what the query is here. And now it's executing this query on my subscription. Okay, and it gets the information. Say this is the resource group I have available. One is the default resource group, one is network watcher resource group, one is RG Copilot with Azure. So these are the resource groups I have in my selected subscription. Even when I click on the run, I get the same query here. I get the subscription ID, I get the resource group name. So you can see you get the resource graph queries and the informations over here. Now let us create a new virtual machine. So I just go to this virtual machine. I try to create new Azure virtual machine. I just create the new resource group RG Copilot demo, and I just ask how to make my VM resilient. So let me shoot out the question: how to make my VM resilient. Let us see what we get as an output here. So here you can see it says you have multiple options. You can go for multi-zonal VMs, you can go for VMSS, public IP addresses, Azure Load Balancer, Azure Application Gateway. Now say it says select multiple zones, create VMSS. Now even this is enabled here, like you need to configure multiple zones. It is highlighted. I select multiple zones. When I select the multiple zones, take a look, friends, here. Take a look. It's creating two VMs, my VM1 and my VM2. And so that means it says you are going to create, this would be your instance details, VM name, and also you can say it put it in the zone 1 and zone 2. Also you say continue to networking tab. When you go to networking tab here, so this is what it says. So it gives me all these 5 options, right? So step by step, it will guide me through all the 5 options over here. Second thing is what? In the networking tab, configure the public IP address. So I should configure my public IP address over there. I mean, VNet and subnet and blah, 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 right? I can configure the public IP addresses here. Then it says continue to load balancing. It says, okay, you use Azure load balancer. Now it says, if you want, you can use Azure application gateway. And then you say, you have selected load balancers, so either go for load balancers, create the new one. I say okay, and then continue to review plus create, or keep configuring. So this is what it has. It needs the context, plus it has the Azure resource plane, that is ARM. ARM is here, right? Plus it has Azure resource graph, and it has skill. It learns it from the Microsoft doc. It's like, you need to configure VMs. I mean, you need to configure multiple zones. You need to configure public IP address. You need load balancer. So it has the skill. It helps you for the cost management. It has the context. ARM is the resource plane here. It has resource graph. Plus it understands natural language. So that is how it works. I can also use a command like, say cost management. So say, how do I reduce the cost of my virtual machine? So it's still going on. Let me cancel this one and say, how do I reduce cost of my virtual machine? Again, it says you should go for Azure Spot instance or low cost size or use auto shutdown, and I can just enable it. So it's enabling it. It's enabling the Azure Spot instance for me. So if I just go to the basic here, I'm expecting, yes, you can see it has checked this Azure Spot discount. Then as of now, size is D2 as V3. It says, I say, okay, use this size. So you can see is changing the size here. Now it says go to continue to management tab, and it says enable auto shutdown. So here you can see it enables auto shutdown for me. So look at this thing, friends. Look at the beauty here, right? I mean, you should know what you want to do with your Azure environment, and Copilot will help you out for the same, right? Okay. I can And also ask a question, say, mm, write a query that finds all changes for last 7 days. So let me put a questions here and just cancel it and say write a query that asks question that generates the changes which I did for last 7 days. So yes, it's generating the query. It's generating the Azure resource graph query. And yes, the query is generated and it's now executing the query also. It takes some time because it's doing a lot of things internally. Is executing this resource graph query, which is using KQL. It's querying my selected subscription using Azure resource graph, determining what to do. Even meanwhile, I can just click on this run and I get that query here. And yes, is there? It's show me the changes what I did in last 1 week. Take a look. So that is fantastic, right? Sometimes it's easy to generate the reports. Even here it says you have created here total first 5 of 18 changes what you did. So you create the storage account. This is the details of it. You create this VM, you create this VNet, you attach this disk, you have this network interface. So this is what you get all the details here, right? This is very easy for your leadership, or if you want to generate the reports for your leadership. Here is like, what changes were made to the virtual machine, this Copilot, or who created the storage account, right? I can just click and say who created this storage account. Even I'll get the information about that also. If you see, meanwhile, I can show you this is what the Copilot homepage, right? Here you can see the Copilot for Azure is in the preview mode. If you click on the use cases, you get all these informations here. If you click on the pricing, you get all these informations here, right? And it says it is in the preview mode, right? You just need to apply for the access. The important thing is what, when you go to resources here, so this is what, here you get Copilot in Azure documentation. It is learn.microsoft.com. And here we have various scenarios. Like you can use it to get information for your resources, understand service health. So I can ask the question that am I impacted by any of the service outage? So I get this information about the service health. I can analyze and estimate the cost. Lots of things I can do, like deploy VMs, create resources, like you can work with AKS clusters efficiently. It can generate Azure CLI script. If I open this one, let me see, it will help you out with the prompts. It's like, give me a CLI script to create the new storage account. Let me copy this prompt here. And when I hit here, enter, for the previous one, you can see it says, the information who created this particular storage account is not available, right? Probably for few reasons it is not available, but yes, I can execute the query by myself, and it will generate the CLI script to create the new storage account. So if even you are the newbie or you are a pro, but it is your real-time assistant, right? It helps you to, like here you can see I get the script, is the storage account create with the particular name, and even when I click on the run, it will provision the storage account for me. See, this is what the name of the storage account is, my storage account. It will put it under the resource group, my resource group, with standard LRS SKU. So yes, again, how to delete the storage account using CLI, how to list all storage account using Azure CLI. Let me click on this one. And yes, it gives me the script. Let me click on run and just see. Okay, it's giving me this. Okay, so it's giving me the CLI script. I have to select bash or PowerShell environment. Let me go to PowerShell environment. I mean, I need to mount, select the subscriptions and apply. Let's see what happens. So this script will list all the storage account and retrieve only the account names. Meanwhile, if we go back here, so we have various options, sample prompts are given, like, I need to assign a DNS name to the VM using a script, how to attach a disk to a VM using the CLI. Also, we can work with a Kubernetes YAML file, like, generate Kubernetes YAML file. So it gives you the prompt here. It's like, help me generate Kubernetes YAML file for a front-end service using port 8080. And like, it will help you to generate your YAML file. You can modify it, you can accept it, and you get your script here, right? So that is what you can see. It's very easy, like, right? Like, say secure and protect the storage account, for example. Now I ask how can I can make this storage account more secure, and it should ask which storage account you are talking about. The query is executed here. Something went wrong. Fine. Just see. I just shoot out a question. Say, would you like to run a security check for the storage account? I mean, different storage account. I can just cancel and say, can you open list of storage accounts? Just see what happens. See, it has opened. It takes me to the list of storage account. Let me close this one. Like same way. Okay, can you open list of VMs just see what happened. See, it's opening the virtual machines tab here, right? And then I can select the particular virtual machine. So yeah, like, it's quite easy, quite flexible to work with, and it will evolve. Also, we would be able to do a lot of things using this Copilot for Azure. Before we continue, like, it's like, like, show my all virtual machines in the East US region. I have only one virtual machine, so only this would be the answer, right? Before we go ahead, let us understand how it works, right? As we discussed already, but I can give you one pictorial view of it. So yeah, let me open Microsoft Whiteboard here. And we have two things here. One is OpenAI. OpenAI provides us these GPT 3.5 or GPT-4 models. It does all the work. And say here, we have read-only copy of these models here as an Azure OpenAI. So this is a read-only copy hosted in the Microsoft data center with private endpoint and all. On your Azure portal, you have Copilot for Azure. And what is this? It is an AI orchestrator. It is an AI orchestrator. What it needs, so user has to provide a prompt plus context. And what it does data grounding. So for data grounding, it use Azure Resource Manager plus Azure Resource Graph. It use Azure Resource Manager, Azure Resource Graph. It use Microsoft Docs. It applies some skills, cost management, etc. And then we get this data back here. This is what we get the data back. Now it takes a prompt. To understand the prompt, it will go to this Azure OpenAI and get the response back, like what you are asking in the natural language. And this data plus response you will get back here. So this is what Azure OpenAI has done. This is what Copilot for Azure is doing internally for you. And then that is how it's working. Right. So I hope you understand how it works. Even if you go to this portal here and you get various scenarios like how to deploy the VM, use guided deployments. In guided deployment, it will ask you, it will guide you step by step, optimize your code. You can use it to optimize your code. It's like, show my code performance recommendations, any available app code optimization. So lot of things you can do here, right? This is the page where you can see how to write effective prompts. That is what the engineering your prompt is very important thing you can understand, and you can understand concept as well as this capabilities, what it does, how it does, and you can just play with it. The only thing you need access for your Copilot, right? You need to sign up using the form, which even if you scroll down, it shows you where it was. Yeah, if I click on pricing here, say applying for the access. When you click on applying for the access, it shows you what to do. And here somewhere the link is given. You need to click on this link and you have to open the form. But again, you need organizational account. You need organizational account, and this is what click here to sign up. So this is the form which you need to fill in, to request access to preview Microsoft Copilot for Azure. Right. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Feel free to shoot out the questions. I'm all available. We have Q&A round now. So yes, Rashmita, you are open for the questions now.
I don't think we have any question at the moment, Krunal.
Okay. Okay.
So, folks, if you have any question later, feel free to reach out to Krunal. His social handles are already updated on the meetup page. But for now, I think we are good. So, thank you all once again, Krunal, for hosting the session. And thank you all for joining us today. Please visit Microsoft Reactor website for more upcoming sessions. Feel free to use the Learn module link. This will give you access to additional resources to take your learning further. Thank you all once again and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Rashmita.